welcome to the Spot Real Talk. My name is Tiara.
I'm Tiffany.
And I'm Ron.
And we are back today with one of our favorite shows, The Shy, now hitting its seventh season. So this is the big premiere of season 7. We are excited to talk about this one because, yeah, they definitely left us with a whole lot to chew on since last season. So before we jump into the conversation, please make sure you all are subscribed to our channel, like the video, and go ahead and click that notification bell because you never know who might pull up on the show. So you're not going to want to miss out if we happen to have some special guests. Also, please make sure you comment down in the comment section. Let us know your thoughts on the premiere episode as we discuss. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into the conversation. So we know last season, Duda was taken out by Nuck. And we also know that Rob was taken out by Nuck. Here, we have the fallout of all that. We have Alicia really struggling to cope with the realization that her son is gone, and it's very, very apparent that she is out for blood. She wants her revenge. She wants to know who did it. And so that's pretty much like her whole MO this first episode. She is confronting Nuck. And I thought that she might have had a hint that it was Nuck. And she didn't seem too certain when she went to him because she was still questioning him about Rob being dead. And what does Nuck do but bold-faced lie? And he put it on Zay, which I'm like, wow.
That's
that was real grimy.
I mean, it's survival.
It's survival, but when we find out later that Zay is his cousin, I was like, who knew? I didn't know that they were related. So I was like, to throw your family under the bus like that, that's foul.
That it was wild.
Yeah, in fact, well, I'm gonna tell you, he had such a sell. I actually thought Zay did it. I mean, when he convinced me. I mean,
you saw the last
that's what I'm saying. He convinced me that they did it, even though I know he didn't do it. I'm saying I was convinced. I'm like, okay, maybe my lying eyes didn't see.
Believe me or your lying eyes.
That's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's actually crazy because Nuck has stepped up. He's now the leader of the organization that Duda left behind, and he's pretty much laying down the law to everybody. Talking about how he doesn't tolerate disrespect or whatever. And as long as you loyal to him, he'll be loyal to you. Make sure you eat and all this stuff. But Zay rolls in there after the meeting already occurred, talking about he was with his girlfriend or whatever. And, he had already vented to the girlfriend about his feelings over being left behind. He felt like Bakari was promoted before he was. So he was definitely real salty about that. And I was like, for this realization that Nuck and Zay are cousins, I would think that they would keep it all in the family. Like, we're going to do this family thing. But it seemed like Zay was a little bit ambitious and saying, I don't want to work for you. I want to be your partner. and Nuck really wasn't trying to hear that.
Well, I think Nuck was going to have a problem with Zay anyways. So, he's not the type that, even though he kind of acquiesced and said, okay, well, he didn't actually say okay either. He kind of acquiesced and it was a ride along to get along. But I think he was going to have a problem. Nuck would have a problem with him anyways. To the point that he may have to change that attitude about not taking out family.
And no, listen, I think he was going to have a problem with anybody he thought was going to be too ambitious to take his spot, because that's what he just did with Duda. He just took Duda's spot. So you're going to be leery of the next person who's too ambitious, because he was. So that's one thing. The other thing is that Zay also told the girlfriend that Nuck was the one that killed Rob. So now that we saw the way things played out, I don't want to get too far ahead of you.
No, go ahead.
I think that's going to be key in the future, that the girlfriend knows.
Yeah, because there's somebody else that can kind of go against what Zay is saying. I mean, sorry, what Nuck is saying about Zay. So that was a real key piece. And kind of like what you're talking about with Zay and Nuck, they were competing last year for Duda's number 2 spot. And so they were really like at each other's neck, going back and forth, competing for his attention, competing for him to promote, get that promotion or whatever. So here it is. I'm the leader of this organization now, in Nuck's eyes. Why would I have you as my number 2 or even as a number 1? So I don't understand Zay's thinking in that regard, but it's very clear that he is jealous of Bakari for what's going on there.
And I don't think he is about family like Nuck is. So, like I said, he was going to have it. I wouldn't be surprised had it, I wouldn't be surprised if Zay tries to take him out at some point. Because it just doesn't seem like, I mean, if things hadn't happened the way they happened.
Okay, I was going to say,
they won't do anything anytime soon.
Let me clean that up a bit. But if things hadn't happened the way they did, I would suspect that they would have tried taking a look at some point because he doesn't seem like, he doesn't care.
He's a grimy
Let me tell you, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying Zay is a grimy dude, so I can see that happening as well.
So is Nuck. Nuck is grimy too.
Both.
But Nuck has more fear. I mean, you like, for instance, the way he's handling his kid and Emmett. There's something about Nuck, I guess you can
he does love his kid. He does want to be a father. He wants to have his legacy, and it seems like he is trying to lean on Emmett to kind of show him the way. He wants to be a positive role model for the child. So I think there is he does have somewhat of a conscience. However, he's still manipulative because I think the way he thought on his feet and he threw his own cousin under the bus. The reason why he is tolerating Bakari, he's manipulating Bakari because Bakari don't really want to be in the game.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Bakari feels like he has to be in the game to survive and things like that. He ain't looking for the top spot like Zay was. So that's why I think he's comfortable with Bakari.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But what I like, though, is at least he gave Bakari a chance to do something else, to write and things like that, which Duda had no intention of giving to Bakari. So that's true. Nuck seems to have his, he seems to be more conscious of things than Zay would. And I can honestly say if Zay hadn't taken that long dirt nap, he would have probably tried to take out Nuck.
Well, I think what they're showing us with Nuck too is that he has a duality. And I think that's what they try to show us with all of these characters in this show. And, in the perception of Chicago in general is because, there's all this negative press around Chicago and the murder rate is this high and the crime rate is this high and all this and that. But that's what the purpose of the show was, supposed to humanize these people and show, their life outside of whatever they done negatively, as well as show the picture that, why are you doing this type of stuff? What led you down this path? Mm-hmm. And so all of these characters seem to have a story. We haven't really gotten much into Nuck's background, but based on the other characters, we know, especially even talking about Bakari, this episode, we'll talk more about that later, but his story, his why, as he was explaining to Alicia. And so that's why I was saying Nuck has a duality. He's obviously a very concerned father. He wants his children to do better than he did, but then he's also in the street organization where it's like, I know what I'm doing is wrong, but I don't feel like I have another route.
and he didn't help the crime rate too much in Chicago. So.
No, he didn't. And something that we learned about Nuck in this episode, he's from I didn't realize it from previous season that he's part of the 63rd gang. And if you listen to the drill music, if you listen to King Von and Lil Durk and stuff like I do, you know about the 63rd.
Yeah, so I mean, I do like that they're showing the duality of these characters. But then, we've been hinting at the situation with Alicia and Zay. Obviously, Alicia heard from Nuck that Zay was the one that killed Rob, so she was out for blood. But the way that she got a hold of Zay was through Shad, and I was like, "Oh, here we go." And Shad is out here involving himself in Alicia's mess, and he went to Bakari and was basically saying, can you give me Zay's whereabouts? And it's like, what Alicia was going to do to him. Like, why are you? And he even explained as much to Vic, because Vic was a little concerned about, what was going down with that Alicia situation. He was like, you need to watch her because, you messing around with her, you're going to end up back in jail.
And I think,
Vic, go ahead.
Well, I think that proves that while Nuck wasn't ready to kill his family, he certainly gave up his kinfolk.
No, that's what
I said. He gave him up.
Oh, well, yeah.
And one of the reasons I think one of the reasons he gave him up is because I think deep down inside he knew if this man stayed alive long enough, that he's going to come back and try to do the same thing to me that I did to Duda.
That's what I said. That's what I said earlier. He's going to take my spot. You always got to sleep with one eye open when
and that's why
you do that.
And I'm agreeing. All I'm saying is that's why he gave him up. Because
that's exactly why he gave him up.
Yeah, he preached all this thing about I can't do this to Ken, but you can.
Yeah.
But he did it to Ken. He backdoored his Ken. And the other thing.
No, I'm just saying he might as well killed him himself, giving him up like that.
He did. I had a concern about Vic though, because the situation that happened with Jake and Zay. And that's the thing that I think is a mistake for Zay and Nuck. Like trying to rule by brute force, that only works for a little while. After a while, somebody will rise up and take you out. It only works for so long. But I'm saying all that to say that caused Vic to come in. And I'm like, now Zay is gone. So I'm like, will they suspect Vic?
Yes.
And I only say Vic because Vic put his hands on him and everything. So I'm thinking DNA.
Maybe. But also it's like, it's not a good look because I think Jake and Fatima will also suspect something, because they know that Vic went over there and checked Zay and, said what he had to say to him and put hands on him. And so it's like from his own, like the people in his household, it's going to look crazy. Like, I just told you about this. You went and roughed him up and now he's dead. It's going to look just like Vic did it.
I don't think now Fatima, she's a little,
Fatima ready to roll. She said
she was going. She said she was going.
Ready to cut and run. I don't see her selling Vic out, and I certainly don't think doing it. But I get what you're saying, Tiff. But then again, I think you said something about Zay and Nook want to rule with a rough hand.
The brute force. Brute force.
I didn't get that from Nook because what he promised the crew that if they work with him and they do that, he's seeming, because from what I gathered from that conversation, Duda wasn't really taking care of them. They were just afraid to leave. And he seems like he wants to cut them in a little more.
Did you hear all his speech? Because he said, if you cross me, I will kill you.
Yeah.
He said all that, but he threatened them.
Yeah, but I mean, I can see him saying that because you don't want these boys out there crossing you, double crossing.
No, but I'm saying if you rule with brute force and stuff, I mean, I understand that you don't want nobody double crossing you, but listen? We going back to power. Your boy Ghost, who you like to always talk about. He ain't tell nobody if I do this, you're gonna kill me. Like, people wanted to work for Ghosts. They did, and if you crossed them, you found out.
And
but he ain't say to them, he ain't say to a room, listen, you're gonna be down with me tonight. If you don't, that wasn't his way. And I just think, like, when you rule with brute force like that, it comes back on you.
And I think it might come back to bite him anyway because of the conversation that Nuck and Bakari had towards the end of the episode, where Nuck basically told him that here's Zay is dead, and Bakari starts putting the puzzle pieces together, and he realizes that, oh, you're the one that killed Rob, and you set Zay up to look like he did it. And so I think Bakari is going to be maybe a key piece of this puzzle where everybody might be looking at Vic like Vic killed Zay, or something else is going on where they're looking for a suspect. But here Bakari is now this middle piece between Nuck and Alicia, and I think that's how Alicia is going to find out the truth.
I got to go back. I'll take a step back.
I was going to go ahead, because I was going to say, I think Bakari's life is in danger, but go ahead.
Yes, it is.
Ghost is a one of a kind type of drug dealer. He was one of a kind. We're never going to see another Ghost. So I can't even make a comparison between Ghost and Nuck. Nuck was just saying, "Hey, look, I'm with this 63rd mob, 63rd Street mob. Y'all need to understand something. I'm the leader." And he has to say that because of the fact that these boys are out here for themselves. And, he's just saying, he's putting a little fear in their heart. I would imagine him doing that. But if he's willing to to make right or wrong, to make wrong or right with them by, giving them a little more than what Duda did, then I can understand that. It kind of balances itself out. But when you talk about ghosts, and, Tiff, you were all over Ghost about his mannerisms and things like that. There's no other Ghost. I don't think we'll ever see a type Ghost again.
Listen, I'm saying the management style. I'm just saying that Nuck, by saying, threatening them, like, you do this now, I'm going to kill you. It was understood with Ghost. He didn't have to say, if you do such and such and such, I'll kill you. And I'm just saying, when you rule like that, yes, you have to be feared to an extent. But a lot of times when you try to rule with brute force, it works for a little while. But then after a while, what happens? You see what happened to Duda. Duda was terrorizing folks, and it was only a matter of time before he was going to be taken out.
Well, you can't keep people in line through social media. You got to let them know one way or the other, either verbally or what you do historically.
Be a punk.
Yeah, so
be a punk. I'm just saying, you got to be.
Those had bodies. That's why people knew if you
exactly. But he didn't have to say it. He didn't have to say, if you do such and such, such, I'm going to do this. He didn't have to say it. People knew.
But I think Nuck is also very new in this leadership role. So he also wanted to just put it out there early. To like, don't play with me.
Exactly. That's what I think it's more of that than, being hard nosed. I just think that this is what he felt he had to do because I don't know. He's a hard character to really try to decide what type of leader he's going to be. And you heard who was it that said to him, leadership is hard? Who was it that made that statement?
Well, I think Darnell said that to Emmett about being her father. Yeah.
Right. Someone said something to Nuck about leadership. I had to go back and see that, but I can't remember who it was. Maybe I got my people mixed up again, but I thought it was someone who said that. Or did Emmett say that to him? I can't remember. Okay. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, so this whole thing with Zay being dead, I think is going to come back. The fact that Bakari is now the one that knows the real deal. And so, let's talk a little bit more about Bakari in this situation with him and his book. He's basically been granted permission by Nuck to continue down that path. And, Bakari he's stuck in between a rock and a hard place. He's like, I want to do better. I want to, write my book and push for better things. But also, I don't have the resources to do that type of stuff. I'm still stuck in the street life. It's my means to an end. And so he's talking to Professor Gardner about, a place to stay because he doesn't, want to go over to Lene. She's about to be off to college and stuff. It's a lot of stuff going on there where he doesn't want to be with her, at least staying there. So he's asking for a place. And Professor Gardner basically suggests that he enroll into school and live on campus. But Bakari basically saying, I don't have the money, the resources to do that.
A degree.
Yeah. And so Professor Gardner, being the upstanding man he is, decides that he's going to talk to his wife, Michelle. And because she has an end with Alicia already, they have a relationship there. She's saying, can you put in a word for him so that he can get Alicia's scholarship that she does annually? And of course, it's sensitive because Alicia is also dealing with the loss of her son. So they kind of I don't know, we kind of tiptoeing around this, but it's worth just putting it out there to see if she'll bite. To which Michelle agrees. And, Alicia, she basically wants to meet Bakari in person and talk to him herself. And she asked Bakari, what is your why? Why do you deserve this scholarship or whatever? I'm not into giving handouts. And that's when Bakari goes into the story of, killing somebody because he loved that person. And he killed somebody because that person killed someone he loved. And so I think of like Alicia is very, very I guess she can relate, to the situation, killing somebody who killed the person you love. And, she's saying that kill might have been justified then. So they kind of have that common ground there. And she decides that she actually will give him the scholarship. But it comes with a whole lot of strings attached, according to her.
He's worse off now than he was before. But my question is, what scholarship? I mean, if you hadn't finished high school, and high school, public schools are free, pretty much. So the scholarship is for what? College? So is this supposed that he finishes high school and then has the means to go to college?
Because it's something.
Because you got to have your high school diploma or a GED or something. So it was just interesting to me that they would be up on a scholarship at this point when he has.
I don't know if that's necessarily true, because there's plenty of high school students that enroll in the college courses. So I'm like, I don't know if that's a stipulation for living on campus though.
But but think about it. High school students enrolling in college usually have a higher grade average than you would expect.
Usually,
but we don't know that he just dropped out. I think that he's.
Come on now, y'all don't drop out of school and then try to have some kind of special program where you can finish high school and college at the same time. Something's amiss here. But but what I found to be strange is how look, Alicia is diabolical, and I just found it strange that Michelle and Professor Gardner would have a wife that has this mixed bag relationship with Alicia. To the point that she could.
Well, she clearly doesn't know Alicia's, dark side.
Wow. She probably doesn't because she's a judge. Remember, she's the same judge that Alicia talked to get Vic off. Mm-hmm. So I think they have a business relationship. They have a personal friendship, and then they know each other on that. I don't know that she knows Alicia's dark side.
I find it, I mean, birds of a feather, and Vic, what he was into, family. You're a judge. You would seem to have more information than say you or I. So I just found it to be very interesting.
She's doing her hubby a favor. Her hubby said, "Can you look out for this young man? He's a good man." Da, 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 da. And so she was like, "I know who can get it done." And I think she was looking at it as far as that, like she thinks she's. You think she's helping a young man?
I agree with that. I don't have a problem with that, but I hope this season will show or tell just what she does know about Alicia, because you can't be that black. I mean by black, diabolical. I mean, she has. Oh, this woman, she can scare a lion in full charge. So,
well, my big concern is what does she want from Bakari in exchange? Because she basically said, if I give you the scholarship, you owe me your life. Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay, that's real deep. That's not just a figure of speech. She literally means that, like, if I say jump, you say how high.
She's gonna want him to spy on Nuck. And that's what I said. I just think, I'm scared for Bakari because he's at the point where he's trying to make a change. And then, you want for people to get out the life and turn their life around. And then sometimes what happens is when they're right there at the cusp, something happens and I'm scared. I want to see him make it. I'm rooting for him to make it. And that situation with him being caught in between Nuck and Alicia is making me nervous.
Yeah, same. I'm definitely worried for him, but I'm hoping that he will continue to write his book and fill Professor Gardner into like what's going on, because he's like a mentor to him and a confidant. So I'm like, okay, if you can keep at least one person clued into what's going on with you, if something happens, they'll at least know where to look. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping that relationship still holds. Another person that was deeply, deeply affected by Rob's loss is Tiff. We are seeing her really struggling this episode, dealing with his loss. We seen her as she kind of found out about it, where Alicia came to her house and told her the bad news. And then the fallout of that, where she's grieving, and her mom and the women in the community are trying to support her as best they can, but her grief is so overwhelming for her that she's actually worried about being able to take care of EJ effectively. Where that's where Keisha steps in and is like, okay, it's very clear that you really need this, so I'm gonna go ahead and take EJ off your hands for a little while. I want to know how y'all feel about Emmett's reaction to not wanting to have his own son live with him.
This is what I said, and it was funny because before it happened, when Keisha said, "Yeah, we'll do it," and watching with my son, he was just like, she ain't even discuss it with hold up, she didn't even discuss it with him and everything, and he shouldn't have done. And I said, well, first of all, that's his kid. She should have discussed it with him, but I said that's his kid. And sure enough, when she got home, Emmett was acting like that, and I was like, my son just said that.
But thank your son when you see him, because I was exactly the same way. I mean, because that's what she required of him.
Yeah,
required that of him, and agreed. You can't get around the fact that that's his son, and he needs to be in his son's life in any way, form, or fashion. You cannot argue that. But I think, I don't think that he would have said no had she brought it to him first. But it's just the idea of you making decisions for the both of us when you so vehemently ask that I not do the same. So it's a double standard that I think Emmett was most concerned about, not necessarily his son, although it does paint a picture that you didn't want.
Yeah, he did say that.
Yeah, it definitely came off crazy for him to be like, "What?" But I do think
we got X amount of kids here already. Yeah,
that ain't a lie either. So
it ain't a lie, but it is his daggone son. I mean, I agree with y'all. She should have discussed it with him first. You're right about that. But on the other hand, Ninja, that is your son.
Your son, yes, exactly. And it's like, it seems like, honestly, I was proud of Emmett for coming around as quickly as he did, though, because it's like, I think he understands the dire situation that's kind of in front of them, where if you are to leave EJ with Tiff, anything could happen. She could spiral out of control. She could put him at harm or in danger or something like that, just because she's not able to be like present and actively aware of what's going on with him. So it's like he's better off with two parents that can really give him the attention he needs versus being with another parent that's going through a very grief-stricken period of her life.
It would have been great if Emmett had come to the conclusion to get his son first. I think that would have cleaned everything up.
Yeah, that would have.
But what was up with the trying to kiss Tiffany?
Well, he gave her like a little peck.
That little peck. No, he wanted more than that peck. I think Tiffany didn't do anything. Tiffany was kind of like, I mean, she was closed mouth. But what was up there? If you want to peck her on the top of her forehead or something, on the cheek, bruh, come on now. I mean,
yeah.
Emmett definitely be tripping sometimes.
Yeah, he does.
I don't know what was going.
I don't know. I think he just got caught up in I don't know. Because first off, like the way she is and can barely get out of bed and stuff like that, I think it is a good idea for him to get EJ. It's not gonna be for a long time. It's not a permanent thing. It's just for a minute to help her get, to get back on her feet and get a little more settled and stuff. Because it is a shock. And I did appreciate the fact that they showed, the women and all of them coming together and praying for her. I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. The power of prayer.
Yep. And community.
Yes, and community, power of prayer. And she, the other thing I also appreciated with Tiff and, Alicia, because, before Alicia couldn't stand Tiff.
Right.
But to see how their bond is now and to see Alicia comforting Tiff, and I think, she had come to the realization that Tiff really did love her son and everything, and therefore she came, to love Tiff.
Yeah, I was happy to see that too. I'm hoping for Tiff that this doesn't send her down a negative path, because it was like they were talking about how, I think her mom said, most people don't get to experience that kind of love, and you should just be grateful that you got to experience that, and that should be kind of like your I guess like your comfort that you got to experience that kind of love. But that can also be a double-edged sword, because it's like you have this standard, like this bar, and you always gonna be looking for somebody to fill that gap, and you might not ever be able to.
I was a little concerned as to whether she would actually get over Rob's death, to the point that that stay, the child stay with Emmett and Keisha might be a little longer than we suspect, because she's so beaten up behind it. You know, as you just said, Tierra, some people don't recover from that. So, and that's what I saw.
It's gonna take a minute. It's gonna take a minute. She's gonna need a support system, which she has, therapy and some more stuff. Spiritual foundation seems like she has that too. I mean, with her support system. But I feel like when you said that, it made me think about what I read about Lauren, because she said something similar, like, losing Nipsey Hussle. She said that that she wasn't even interested in like dating or whatever, because like she feels like he was her true love. So some people do feel like that.
Yeah. So it's gonna be a rough road for Tiff going forward, but we're gonna have to see what happens with her, and hopefully, Emma and Keisha can hold it down as much as they possibly can. I know it's gonna be a difficult situation for everybody, but I was glad that Emmett at least has like some guys support. He was talking to his dad and his brother, and being glad that Duda is dead and he no longer has that weight over him, because Duda was basically trying to take over his business. So I'm interested in seeing what's going on with Emmett's business. We didn't see that this episode. But hopefully we'll be able to see more of what's happened with, his franchises now that Duda is possibly out the picture. Or, I was wondering if Nuck would step in and try to say, nah, you still on the hook. But it seems like he and Nuck have kind of built kind of positive relationship for now.
But they weren't when Rashad was meeting with Bakari. They were eating at Smokies.
Well, yeah,
so they were in the restaurant. So it's still open.
I'm sure it's still open. I'm talking about the ownership and what's going on with the funds and all that stuff. Yes. So
I think Nuck would gladly get that over to Emmett, in the sense. What I was really impressed with Nuck is when he was about to take his son out, and he asked Emmett if he wanted to come along.
Yeah, they had a good time at the botanical garden and whatnot, and Emmett got over his jitters.
But that shows something about Nuck that I think we don't quite yet.
Well, I think he's trying to show Emmett that I'm not a threat to you. Like, Emmett is over here jerking around and being jumpy every time Nuck make one slight move. And I think he's trying to show him, like, I'm genuine in trying to be a good parent to my child. Because I'm in your household and I'm around Keisha and I'm around your kids, like, that don't mean that I'm a threat to you. I think that's what he's trying to portray. Now, whether he has other motives, because we know he still loves Keisha.
Yeah, of course. And he has the right to.
We don't know.
He does.
Yeah.
I also feel like he thinks with Emmett, like all this time, Emmett has been acting as a father to little Ronnie, and Emmett has lots of kids, so he's been a father. So I think in a way he kind of admires that Emmett knows what to do and everything, and I think that's another reason why he wanted to have him go on a walk and stuff, because he can learn some things from Emmett.
Yeah, that's a good point. I wanted to talk a little bit more too about this situation with Vic, going to Pastor Zeke and asking him to uplift the community, during this time where there's been so much loss. And his response was very crass. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, I was mad.
He's saying this is not that kind of church. And I'm like,
yeah, I was just like, oh, so it's a scam.
Exactly.
Because I was just like, that is your role. And then even Charles, aka Dre, from Howard, I'm like, he's still acting like Dre.
Yep, over there being a parrot, basically just repeating whatever Zeke's saying. And I'm like, okay, these two, it's very clear what their motives are. Money is the motivation. And if it ain't about the dollar, it ain't about nothing.
Right. Because I'm like, how you
Last
gonna
season.
get mad? Huh?
I said he proved that last season. It's all about the dollar. Um, and then he went, if I'm not mistaken, didn't Zeke go to Nook?
He
Yes.
sure did.
Because he was concerned about how they were going to clean the fund. Like Doodah was washing his money through the church or whatever.
Right
And
there.
he's like, well, now that Doodah is gone, is that arrangement still in place? So he was trying to, get a feel for what's going on.
To get a cut. He was worried about his cut.
And then asked for
well, he has to be a spiritual advisor to Nuck.
How much a month? What did he say?
Yeah, right.
2K, not even a month. He said 2K a session.
Oh, did he say session? Okay,
yes.
That's even worse. I mean, first of all, you're a pastor and you washing money. Okay, right then and there, we know what you are. Okay, so when he said, so I can at least say he's very truthful, because when he said this ain't that kind of church, he was absolutely right.
Yeah, that was a hot mess. I'm like, goodness. I mean, it's really unfortunate too, because I think that there's a lot of youth in that congregation, and they seem to be kind of drawn to his style of preaching or whatever, but also he's manipulating the heck out of them and fleecing the flock.
Yeah, I'm wondering, is Papa still in the church? Because he was starting to preach and everything. Like Pastor Zeke was like grooming him to give these talks on prosperity and everything last season. So I'm like, is Papa still in the church? In his church?
Yeah, we're gonna have to wait and see, because Papa wasn't visible at all this episode. We didn't see him or Maisha or Gemma. So we gotta wait and see what's going on with them. But so far, go ahead, Ron.
I hope we see Papa in episode 2. Because I too want to know, what is he still dealing with Zeke in some kind of way? Just where is Papa at this point? Because there's a lot of killing going on, and
it seems like it's gonna be some more too.
You start out like this, who's next?
Yeah,
I don't know. You think Fatima might be in harm's way?
I think Fatima trying to get out. She's not the only one trying to bounce though, because Bianca was like, I'm about this life. I was with behind. She's like, I'll leave it all behind. I'm out.
She said that earlier. She said you can have a bar, you can have a lounge.
I don't know, but Bianca, that might be the second body we see coming out of this episode, because I don't think Alicia took too well to that.
I don't know. Alicia, she's a woman scorned right now. She basically was, Roz came to the lounge and she was inviting Alicia and Bianca to Otis's funeral. And basically, she was kind of shocked that Roz didn't want revenge. And Roz was kind of like taking the back seat. She's like, I got shooters if I need them, but I'm not on that type of time right now. And Alicia basically was like, offering her services if she needs them. And I'm like, oh. And basically she was like, she'll grieve Rob when his killer is dead, is what she said.
What do you think Zeke, I'm not Zeke, but Zay, what do you think he was trying to say before she put 3-4 bullets in him?
He was about to tell the truth.
She probably was telling him that Nuck did it. But that's why I said this is why the girlfriend is going to be key, because he told the girlfriend that Nuck killed. So I think eventually that may come out. But I was thinking that if she tells Alicia, remember Nuck said to Bakari, you're the only one that knows. He thinks Bakari is the only one that knows. So I think that even if the girlfriend tells Alicia, he's going to think Bakari told. Yeah. And that's why I'm scared for Bakari.
Yeah. It's going to look crazy. It's a lot of things that are on the surface is not what it appears to be. And that's where it's going to be a lot of misinterpretations of the situation, and somebody's going to get hurt behind misinterpreting what it looks like. So this episode was called Black Friday. It was a Black Friday for sure.
No Black Friday deals though.
No. Well, Bakari got to deal with the devil, if that's what you want to call it.
Okay,
that's true.
I take that back. It was a Black Friday deal. A big one.
So I enjoyed this episode. Do we want to talk about who can get the hands for this episode? I think I want to give Well, the obvious is Nuck.
No.
Because he shouldn't have. I mean, well, I can't say whether he should or shouldn't. He basically threw his cousin under the bus, though.
Yeah, he did.
Okay, I'm while I
I
flip.
know, because you see the soft side of him
No,
with
no,
his
no,
son.
no. It's not even that. But I mean, I honestly, I couldn't imagine what I would say looking down the barrel of what appeared to be a 45 or something like that. I mean, I don't think I'm going to be that kind of guy that says, "Yeah, I did it," and then the
Oh,
next.
I'm not saying he should have said he did it. Listen,
That's
we're
what
not
I'm saying.
saying that he should have owned it.
Yeah,
But
man.
to throw your
There's
cousin
something
out the bus is
you
crazy.
got
Under the bus
look.
is crazy work.
And you know
Yeah.
what? I honestly think he threw him under the bus because of what we had said earlier.
Yeah,
And
he did.
that was he's got to go one way or the other. So here's
That's still family.
Yeah. So Nuck gets the
as
hand.
long as my hands didn't take him out, so he's got to
That's
go one way or
family.
the other. And I think he chose that way. So I guess okay, Tiff, I got it. I'll take, my pick is Alicia because she's so sporadic. And then,
And she killed the wrong guy. So
Yeah.
yeah, so she
and
deserved it.
also, but also, Bakari's trying to do the right thing. And here you are, like we've seen in all of these shows we recap. Every time somebody's trying to get out, there's always somebody trying to pull you
Pulling
back.
him back in.
And
Yep.
here she is doing that to my boy. So, she's got to get the hands for that. Just leave him
Yeah.
alone, give him a scholarship, and let him go.
Okay. So we got Nuck, Alicia. I also want to throw Shad on the list
I was
because
gonna
why
say,
are you
should we
involved?
say Shad? And Shad took her to Tuesday. He did try to speak up and say, wait, he's trying to say something. So
Dating.
he did try to stop her.
But you
But
knew what she was going to do. Why would
he
you
knew,
bring that boy?
right. He was wrong for taking her to him. So yeah.
Shad get the hands. And then, of course, Pastor Zeke can get the
Oh
hand.
yeah, Pastor Zeke and Charles throwing him on
Yeah.
there too.
All right. Now, do we have a nominee for Game Ball?
Professor Gardner.
I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah, Professor Gardner is a hero.
Yeah, he is very genuine and trying to help and trying to be a good resource. Yeah, so I think he was the standout for me this episode.
Yeah, he definitely was a standout. I just got to back up for a minute for the hands list. Does Keisha deserve the hands for volunteering to take EJ without talking?
Keisha and Emmett can both get an honorable mention for the hand.
Yeah,
because Keisha should have asked him first, but Emmett should not have been so against taking his own son.
But it was okay. Let's go.
They can both get an honorable mention. Would you say Ron the pluck instead of
give her a pluck, but I wouldn't give her, no, not honorable.
She was doing honorable things. She was well intentioned.
And she did something that Emmett should have done. Emmett should have
right.
All she was doing was picking up Emmett's mess. I agree with that. But the hands, nah, I'll give her a pluck. Yeah.
All right, we can live with that. All right, well, this was a really good one. Thank you to everyone for watching. Please make sure you drop down in the comment section and give us your thoughts about this episode, as well as any predictions that you have for this season. Be sure to also follow us on all of our social media platforms. We are at The Spot Real Talk on all major platforms. Also, subscribe to our channel, like this video, click that notification bell so you get alerted. And we have this really cool playlist with all of these interviews where we have interviewed people from the Shy. I mean, pretty much almost every cast member. We've had a ton of people from the Shy. So if you go to that playlist where all of our interviews are, you'll see some of those past interviews. And you never know who we might have for this season. So like I said, the notification bell is very important. Also, make sure you invite your friends and family to get down with the Spot Real Talk. It's a lot of good stuff going on over here, and we don't want them to miss out, and we don't want you to miss out. So spread the word and, help us continue to grow and support our channel. Tiff, Ron, y'all got anything else you want to add?
I think you did it.
All right.
Oh, they're saying that I understand there's going to be some new people coming to the Shy too.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to seeing them.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm definitely excited about this season. 7 seasons is impressive, and to still have this large viewership and growing says a lot about this show. So glad to see it come back. Definitely looking forward to what they have in store for us. So please make sure you all are back here next week, same time, same place, for a recap of season 7, episode 2. Have a good night. Thanks.
Bye.
Woke up today, smile on my face. May not go my way, still got my faith, so I'll be okay. I'll be okay, I'll be okay. Running our race, just that I pace. Made some mistakes, but learned a few things, so I'll be okay. I'll be okay, I'll be okay.